Hi, and welcome to another live chat session with me, Lee Kim from the Paranormal Zone. Well, you just watched an episode on ghost marriages. Now, it's really one of those episodes that I have done in the last 4 years that really really caught me by surprise. In fact, I would say it even shocked me a little. However, what is interesting is conceptually it sounds ridiculous that somebody would commit themselves or marry a spirit, right? But to my bewilderment and also gaining a lot of knowledge, it is very real. So you met in the episode Mr. Wu, who is seriously committed to his marriage to a spirit, to a ghost. So I think what's important is to know that even though, like what I found out is this custom of ghost marriages was practiced way back maybe like 3,000 years ago, and as far back as the Chinese kingdom of the Zhou dynasty, right? So see, it's very common in Taiwan, and I think that has something to do with the culture and the thinking in Taiwan, and also their strong practice of ancestor worship. And let's just have a look at some definition of ancestor worship. Let me see. It is commonly believed that when you make offerings and worship and respect your ancestors who have passed on, you maintain that lineage or that heritage of your family. And by showing respect and making offerings and worshiping your ancestors and setting up the necessary altars, either in the temple or even in your own home, setting up a shrine, it just, it allows you to, hold on, there's a little bit of a delay. Anyways, so it allows you to bring good luck, blessings from your ancestors, and also to the descendants, because it is obviously with your ancestors that you are here today, and from your ancestors, therefore the descendants, and so on and so forth in the future generation, right? Also, it is a strong belief that ancestor worship brings good luck. So when you have that kind of practice in a culture and things like that, you will therefore have a tendency and a belief system which involves believing in spirits and ghosts, yeah? So it's very common, of course, in Asia, and the countries that still practice, ghost marriages is northern and central China, Shanxi, Henan provinces. I know my pronunciation is really bad. And surprisingly, you would say, I discovered that even in Singapore, ghost marriages are still practiced, even till today. And Sudan also has. And just to give you some information, which I did some research, in the country of Sudan, there is a tribe called Niue tribe. And in this tribe, the practice is, for example, if I am a younger brother and my older brother passed away before marrying his fiancée, as a younger brother, I have the obligation to marry my older brother's fiance, like my own wife, but understanding that I represent my brother in this union. And when we have children in the future, it would also mean that these children are my older brother's children. So there is this practice as well. And surprisingly, I found out that these ghost marriages, which they call posthumous, my English is really bad today, is also practiced in France. And we're talking about as far back as World War I, when women lost their boyfriends or their fiancés to the war. Okay, so, and despite the loss, the women still wanted to marry their fiancé. So therefore, it was called posthumous marriage, and it was kind of done by proxy. So it makes you wonder why something so bizarre is still being practiced, or why did it even come about in the first place. Commonly, I mean, I don't have so much deeper knowledge about like in France or in the Western world, but in Asia, like I mentioned and I learned in the episode, in Asia, women who die without being married, they are wandering spirits. They are wandering spirits because they don't have a place to lie in peace, so to speak. Unlike a male person who passes, they can be placed at the ancestor altar in a home. Whereas you don't place single women in your ancestor altar because it is believed to bring very bad luck to the family and the descendants. So in order for the deceased single woman to have a home after death, the only way is for her to marry and then become a part of the man's family, and therefore her place of rest would be in that man's family's ancestor altar. So I find that to be, of course, in the beginning, it was like, this is so weird, right? Ooh, you know. But when I learned more and I spoke to the different masters and I understood the culture and the thinking behind it, it's actually very compassionate. A living man, a stranger to this deceased single lady and her family, he has no reason to accept such a union. But if, for instance, he either, depends on how you want to look at it, bad luck or good luck, steps onto this red packet, which you saw in the episode. When they have that kind of thinking and they're accepting and they come from compassion, they will accept that union, so that in that compassionate action, they allow this wandering spirit of the deceased single woman to have a place of rest. And I think that's really, really compassionate. So when I went to Taiwan, it was very intriguing, the stories I covered there. I think we did 4 episodes in season 4, filmed in Taiwan. But of course, my favorite is ghost marriages. That's why we live streamed it today. Many people say, oh my God, why is Taiwan like that? Why is it so superstitious? I think it's not a question of superstition in a negative way, but I think it's like a kind of respect, honor, and humane practice when they come to believing in spirits and practicing ancestor worship. Other than Taiwan, there are many other places in Asia where ancestor worship is actually a stronger practice than the simple, than the religion of Buddhism and Taoism. In fact, many families hold ancestor worship as above religious practice. And Personally, for me, in my family, we also have ancestor worship, in the sense that we have an altar set up, and normally the ancestor altar is with a son, and the son who is married and has children will continue to pay respect and maintain this ancestor altar, and then it passes down to the next son, and so forth and so forth. Yeah, and on occasions such as Chinese New Year, we actually do make offerings and light joss sticks and bow 9 times in order for the entire ritual of prayers during Chinese New Year to be completed. So therefore, without respecting your ancestor altar and just only respecting your Buddha's altar is not enough. You need to complete it with the ancestor worship. And what else do I want to share with you? Other than giving the deceased lady a place of rest, it is also believed strongly that such an act of ghost marriages does also bring good luck to the kind living gentleman who has accepted to marry a ghost as his first wife. Yeah, they are allowed to marry a living woman only as a second wife, and the children that they have will always have to worship the first ghost wife even as their first grandmother, first mother. Chinese will call it Dai Ma. Yeah. Let me see. The difference during my journey filming the Paranormal Zone, as I said earlier, I found that ghost marriages are also still practiced in the cosmopolitan city of Singapore. But in Singapore, there was a bit of a difference. It was basically the marrying of 2 dead souls. For example, a boy and a girl who have passed or died while single. And for the girl, it's kind of like, okay, she's a wandering spirit, she's got nowhere to go. And for the boy, it's like, you know, similarly, he's got nowhere to go, even though he can be on his ancestor altar. But as the family, similarly, when your children are alive, you want them to marry so that they settle down and they get matured, and they have, the Chinese say, how do you say that in English? They get settled, and they start to take on the next stage of their lives, to be an adult and to take care of another person, and then you have a union of 2 people, and they take care of each other. So similarly, sometimes the surviving families have the same thinking. As such, they will unite 2 single souls, you know, who passed away, and it's, you know, just because it's a union of 2 souls and they're not physically there, the rituals and the practice and the exchange of dowries is still conducted as though it was a normal marriage of 2 people who are not dead. So the rituals are quite auspicious and quite elaborate. It depends on the family backgrounds, and respectfully, the 2 families, of course, the family of the boy and the family of the girl, they do have to meet, and they have to discuss, and they have to do dowries. And during the ritual of the marriage and the union, paper dolls are made to represent the male and the female, and offerings of houses and cars and money and clothes and everything. Sometimes it's all in the form of paper. It's built beautifully. There is a street in Singapore that just dedicates themselves to this industry of making paper dolls and paper money and paper houses and paper cars, and all these things are burnt as part of the ritual and offerings to this couple on their wedding day. What? Okay, I have a question here. What marriage obligations do you have? As in myself? Okay, I guess you is me. Let me see. I was married for 15 years. I have been divorced for 5. Um, so, I guess that itself tells me I have issues with obligations to marriage. Well, so let's just talk about when I was married for 15 years. What were my obligations? I think that as a wife, you show love and understanding, patience and tolerance to your partner, your husband, and you talk through problems and you enjoy the good times. Only to know that every moment is a choice to make it what it is. You could choose to make it miserable, which I think many of us do, or you could choose to make it delightful and memorable, loving and sweet, which I know a lot of us do too. Okay, so those. But if let's say for example you're talking about, in terms of this context, ghost marriages, and you're talking about obligations of ghost marriages, it's how do I say? The living man, who is the husband, needs to make offerings to his ghost wife daily. From what I learned from Mr. Wu, the first few years after marriage, he always provided for her a place at the dining table. A set of chopsticks, a spoon, a bowl with rice, and a plate where he would place dishes for her to eat. And he continued this even though he went out for dinner outside. Not necessarily, he just didn't do this offering only at home. He did it even when he went outside to the public areas for dinner. And he told me that after a while, after a few years, his wife spoke to him and told him that he doesn't need to set a place for her anymore, and that she understands his love for her and his respect for her presence, to place the dinner offering or the meal offerings each time he had a meal. And he asked his ghost wife why would he want her to stop, and she said that as much as he doesn't care what people think when they see an empty place there, as a wife, he didn't want it to be difficult for him, at least in the eyes of the public, in terms of social, not get scrutinized by people because he has an empty seat for his ghost wife. And it was interesting to hear that, because I guess even though people do accept ghost marriages, it is still a little bit bizarre to actually see it, right? Just like how theoretically I read about ghost marriages and I understand about ancestor worship, and I understand about the compassion of giving the deceased single lady a place of rest. It still throws you off to actually hear it and see it happening before your eyes, and having somebody tell you a story. Yes, he did. He did. He did mention that he did have sex. I mean, come on. I'm not going to pretend to be innocent, right? I mean, sex happens between a husband and a wife, right? And that's normal. So since the whole thing is so normal, ritual of marriage and it's all done as though it's how do I say this? The entire ritual, the taking of the vows, the setting up of the altar, the exchange of vows, the signing of a certificate, it's all so real, right? So it kind of makes you wonder if it's all so real, and it seems so real to Mr. Wu. My mind just went, so do they have sex? Because sex is real. Sex is real between a husband and wife, right? And I wasn't sure. I mean, my director, um, we weren't sure whether we wanted to ask this question, and we weren't sure whether we were ready for the answer. And so we said, okay, let's ask the question and see what what we get. And he was so honest and so open. It was so natural for him, and he said, "Yeah, we do have sex." And the part that really I didn't laugh per se, but kind of tickled my mind was the fact that he added to say that it's even better than sex with a real woman. And I was like, oh, and I guess when he said that, what engaged for me is how real this marriage was to Mr. Wu, and how this union for him was very sacred. And I don't know if you caught it during the episode, but this lady, his wife, had been coming to him over a period of 9 years through his dreams. And he was telling me how his dreams were so real and so engaging, and he literally was dating and having a relationship with his wife in his dreams. That it was so consuming and it was so real and it made him so happy that he really looked forward to going to sleep. So after a while, after 9 years of courtship in his dreams, they decided to get married, which then of course you saw the episode and like that. It was very interesting. Let me see, what else did I find out that I would like to share with you? Okay. Hold on, let me see. What's the question? Ooh. Hold on. Oops, sorry. Okay. So did he have physical intimacy with his wife? Yes. Was it like when he was dreaming? Okay, honestly, as much as I get it, I kind of find it hard to visualize and imagine the actual act taking place, right? But I think that the act of physical intimacy with his ghost wife can be, as you would put it, somewhat in his dream. However, many of us have heard stories of people, many of us have heard stories from people who tell you that they go to a hotel and they feel like there is a ghost or a spirit that is lying on top of them, squashing them, so to speak. And many people have had such experiences, that they go to a new place and when they're sleeping in the middle of the night, they feel that there is a ghost or a spirit or a force that's pressing on them. But of course, they don't see anything. Given that experience that people have had, it makes you relate that it is the same way that one could also have physical intimacy, in this case, Mr. Wu's sexual experiences with his ghost wife. So that's how I would relate the actual physical interaction, whereby Mr. Wu says that it's better than sex with a real woman, and also Mr. Wu did say that he could actually feel the warmth of his wife's body. All right, So, is it better in dreams? I guess, sometimes people prefer to dream about things because sometimes they feel reality is not that great. However, in Mr. Wu's case, his reality is like a dream. So I guess he has the best of both worlds. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so I would like to share with you some superstition commonly believed in Taiwan. What do we have? So obviously, after understanding ghost marriages and how a guy could just stumble onto a red packet and next thing you know, you're married to a ghost wife. So one of the superstitions is don't pick up a red envelope on the street. If you pick up the red envelope on the street and take the money inside, you're obliged to marry a ghost bride. Parents of an adult woman who died before marrying leave out red envelopes with money and then hide and wait for someone to pick it up. So when they see a man pick it up, ta-da, that's your son-in-law. Okay, they require him to marry the spirit of their daughter. Okay, and if he doesn't agree, sounds like blackmail, but basically he's going to have nightmares and bad luck, and his nightmare is going to be that of a woman crying to him in his dreams all the time. Okay, so that's one. The other one is don't write another person's name in red. Despite red being an auspicious color among the Chinese, especially during Chinese New Year, in this case, when you write a person's name in red, you are actually, the red here is not auspicious, but a symbol of blood. And writing someone's name in this way would indicate that they could suffer a grave injury or even death soon. So you know how sometimes teachers like to mark in red, and then they make comments in red, and then they write your score in red, and sometimes they write your name in red. So in Taiwan, they're very careful about that. So I think teachers do not mark or write your name in red because, it could be a curse that you're going to get sick or die. All right, so, this one is really interesting. I read about this one, and I thought it was quite interesting. Don't raise 2 dogs, but 4 instead. If you have 2 pet dogs, they say, it is a bad omen because with 2 mouths, they will symbolically form the Chinese character to cry. I mean, I don't write Chinese, but apparently, the 2 mouths is the 2 squares on the top, and then the letter like big. So when you put it together, it means crying. Okay, and apparently 4, which is normally a taboo figure in Chinese belief, 4, because 4 means death, say means die. Having 4 dogs is considered ideal because their 4 mouths form the second character, and that means generosity. I know, that's why it's superstition and not a fact. Well, I guess if superstition is believed long enough through the generations and time, it becomes a fact. Okay. Anyways, people who pierce their ears, can't be reincarnated as a man. That's fine with me. Once a person pierces their ears, regardless of their gender, it is said that they cannot be reincarnated as a man in their next life. So therefore, I feel that being a woman is extremely superior, so I shall keep my ears pierced for this life and the next lives. Some other Chinese superstitions with regards to ghosts. Okay, don't whistle at night because it attracts ghosts. Don't hang your clothes outside at night to dry because it looks like flying ghosts. Don't swim in the lakes or in the ocean during the Chinese Ghost Month because ghosts will drown you. When you enter in a hotel room, before you enter in the hotel room, either ring the doorbell that exists or knock on the door 2 to 3 times and telling people, the unseen guest who may be there before you, informed of your entrance. Okay, so the 30 minutes is good. Your teacher wrote, please see me in red. Well, here's the good thing though. It didn't write your name in red. It just says, please see me in red. So I guess your teacher had a bit of knowledge about this, about not writing people's name in red. All right, guys. For the last 8 weeks, I have, together with my great team, streamed 8 episodes from the Paranormal Zone season 1, 2, 3, and 4. Today is the last episode that we will be doing, and of course the last live chat. I had done this whole 8 weeks thing with you guys simply because it was my way of celebrating Halloween, which is coming up next week on Tuesday. So for those of you who have come on these past few weeks, I hope that the episodes of the Paranormal Zone have intrigued you, given you more information, and parted with you some wisdom that I too have gained in the last 4 years filming the Paranormal Zone. Okay. Other than that, I hope the live chats have been good. I know I stumbled a bit the first 2 times, technicalities and internet problems. My internet was slower than a snail, but I managed to push my entire family out of the house so that I have the entire internet to my use, and it's been running pretty smoothly for the last 6 weeks. Okay, so if you've been following me and you've enjoyed it, I thank you so much for following, and I hope that you'll continue watching the Paranormal Zone on YouTube, season 1 and 2. Watch out for more news on my page, because I think starting in January, oh, you're so loud. Starting in January, we may be broadcasting season 4 in Malaysia and Brunei. The details have not been ironed out, but I believe that it should go on smoothly. So look out for more news on my page where to watch season 4. Okay, so I wish you guys a great rest of Thursday, a fantastic Friday tomorrow, and an awesome weekend coming. And most of all, if you're celebrating Halloween, happy Halloween. Bye.